I never felt like I mattered to the guys that I was dating. And I just kind of assumed that my love could be what fixed them and what changed their minds. And that's not the case. A lot of like the guidance that I was being given like in those relationships was like, that's not you can't get on the cross for them. Like you can't fix their hurt. That's between them and Jesus. My name is Maddie Klaiber and I'm from Ashland, Kentucky. I pictured my love story all the time when I was little. And I looked up a lot to my mom and dad's relationship, and especially like my grandma and grandpa, their relationship. So the bar was set really high. So I always dreamed of being swept off my feet and a man that would dance with me in the kitchen and make me feel like the only girl in the world. There was a running joke when I got older, they were just summing up Maddie's type is boots. My dating history up before Colton was rocky. I feel like I was very drawn and I felt like it was my job, like to fix the person that I was with. And so it resulted, obviously, as you could imagine, in a lot of like really painful situations for me. And that's something that like my dad would tell me like time and time again throughout, like that's not how it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to make this man into the man you deserve. He's supposed to already be the man you deserve. I feel like in college, it was just a lot of me not being taken seriously. There was a whole lot of words and a whole lot of things said, but there was never any actions behind them, and I just continued for a really long time to turn a blind eye to those things. But in my head, it's like I thought, they're saying it, they mean well, but they're just broken, and so that's okay. Like I have to stick around, I have to still love them through it, because one day they'll figure it out, and one day they'll get there. Like they're telling me these things, so surely they mean them, right? There's just a lot of ups and downs in my last two relationships before Colton. And it was just this consistent thread of like, I want you in my life, you're amazing, you're a wife, like you're not like other girls, but like I don't want to be serious right now. Like I just want to hang out and I want you to act like my girlfriend, but you don't get to be my girlfriend, sort of thing. And so then that just kind of, it makes you feel really like just worthless. And it was just with so much back and forth, I feel like I struggled a lot like with my identity. And I feel like my identity was being placed in who they said I was. And depending on their mood of the day, if I was good enough for them, if I did a good enough job loving them and I got to talk to them without them being angry, or if they wanted to try again with me. So it's just a lot of back and forth, and I struggled even to know, like, I thought that was love. And so I struggled to see the 30,000 red flags that I was overlooking. So yeah, it was chaotic. It was really hurtful, and it was just up and down and up and down all the time. It was like in my last relationship, like I would wake up and you would never know what version of a man you were gonna get. I remember telling one of my best friends, like right in like the thick of things, that it is so hard to separate when you've been wounded so badly by man's love. It is so difficult to see how God could love me in a way that was different than what I was seeing. And because I felt so strongly that I had to be good enough and I had to keep sacrificing what was important to me and who I was to feel like I was getting loved by this man, it really started to translate into my relationship with Jesus. And I would wake up and feel like, okay, like I'm not doing enough. Like there's no way Jesus could love me on my worst days. There's no way that this could matter to Jesus, because it doesn't matter to this man who says he loves me. And this man who says he loves me can go radio silent. This man can know I'm hurt and not care. And so how on earth does Jesus care? How does he hear me? And how does he see that I'm worth being loved? And so it just like this sense of like worthlessness. And it was gross. Like it was like all my confidence was just like plummeted. And I just felt like not seen in love, if that makes sense. Like I didn't feel seen by the man who was saying he loved me. So how could God see me and still love me? How could he love me with patience and slow to anger and just steady? A steady love wasn't something I had experienced. Therefore, it was hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that Jesus was steady and that he was unwavering in his love for me. It was hard. When something like that, like chaotic, and it's kind of just like calm after a storm, like it was like filled with a lot of really, really sweet time with Jesus. And it was actually, the pandemic started in all the middle of that too. And so it's like I had no choice but to just come to Jesus, so broken and so hurting. And I know I told one of my best friends, it was like, I do not feel like I'm somebody who would ever be taken seriously. I said, I don't feel like I'm not somebody to guys that they look at and think, oh, like I want to be good for her, I want to pursue her. And I was just at a place where like I believed that like God had this amazing, God-fearing man who was loving and kind and gentle and genuine for all of the girlfriends in my life. And I believed that they were so worthy of that love, but I did not feel like I was worthy of that because I had been shown for so long that I wasn't by men in my life. I doubted really hard because, again, like as a hopeless romantic, I'm like so unnecessarily dramatic, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, but how could it get better than this? Like I swore I loved this guy, and like he was this and he was that, and he was good to me for 2 months, and so why is he not the one for me, God? Like why not? And just continuously being told no by God. It's like, okay, then who is it? Like, like I didn't think, I really didn't think that there was something that would blow any dream I ever had out of the water when it came to the love story that he was writing me. And so I was just at a place where I just felt I was empty, and I just really needed to be filled back up by Jesus and reminded of the depth of his love. He brought me to a place where I was able to separate, okay, this is what this love looked like, and it sucked, but that wasn't love. And then he showed me, and this is my love, and the two aren't the same by any means whatsoever. And I think once I realized the difference in that, that was a game changer for me. And I think that's what was preparing me, learning that lesson was preparing me and building me back up for when he did bring Colton into my life.
I'm Colton Bays. I'm from Paintsville, Kentucky.
Okay, so it was not at all how I thought I would meet my future husband, but it was the very beginning of the pandemic, and he came across my social media, and I sent a picture of him to my best friend, just as girls do, and she said, "I'm sorry, you know this guy and he's not your husband yet?" And I said, okay. I said, let me see what I can do. And so I reached out to him over social media, and it was our plan to wait until things with the pandemic subsided, and then Lexington opened restaurants back up, and about a week later he came up to take me on a picnic. When I first met him, he had a dozen yellow roses in his hands because he knew yellow was my favorite color. And honestly, like, I just kept thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, okay, like, yeah, I'm gonna, like, as the day progressed, obviously, like, I was like, I want to marry him. No hesitations, but then also in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, like, calm down, Maddie, like, this is too good to be true, like, you don't, like guard your heart, you know, like, don't get too invested. Like, I was basically, like, waiting for, like, part of me was waiting for, like, the other shoe to drop, and then there was just this constant, though, just like, no, there's not another shoe. Like, he's wearing both the shoes, it's fine. And his boots, he's wearing both his boots. It was hard, because it was like the end of our first date, and I was like so convinced, and I was like, if I don't marry him, I don't know who I'm marrying. And then of course you tell your friends about it, and there's always that, Maddie, wait, like, one date, are you sure? And I'm like, I'm sure, I'm sold. But I think it was just like continuing to still pray about the relationship and still pray for my future husband. At the time it was Colton or not, still pray and still lean into what God was saying. And I kept a like pretty sporadic prayer journal for my future husband, and you know, being engaged. Like, I've been going back through it and just looking like prayers back from like 2016, 2017, and they're just so clearly Colton Bays. And it's like from hearing his story before we met, things that I prayed for him fit insanely well to what he was going through at the time. And as time progressed, it was like the closer I would get to Jesus, the closer I'd get to Colton. The closer I got to Colton, he kept pushing me towards Jesus. And then that's when things started to fall into place, and it's like, oh, okay. I see you, Lord.
I thought she was the most stunning thing that I've ever seen in my life. And to this day, she's still, I don't have words for it, honestly. She, when she came into my life, it was like nothing else mattered. It was just my whole focus, even in the middle of a pandemic, was nothing but her. And she's been a blessing ever since. I knew on the first date, pretty much knew before that, honestly, because she, from the first time we spoke, it's like she always had the right words to say. And we talked about it before our first date, and we talked about, you know, if we were both nervous, and she said that, you know, she was afraid that the actions weren't going to back up the words that were being said. And that was my concern as well, but from the first time she walked out of that house, I knew for a fact that she was it. And I mean, we talked for hours upon hours, just venting about the past and what we'd been through and what we wanted. But in her heart the entire time, I just seen Jesus. It was always the most beautiful thing just to watch her speak, because she's so passionate about it. She's so passionate about her religion, and she's so passionate about how she loves other people. And just, really, she talked about me getting her the roses. But what really spoke to me was the gratitude she had for something that small. just how that stole her heart. It made me want to pursue her more, because you could see that she hadn't been treated the way that she should be. But also, I had this love that I'd been hurt in the past. Somebody deserved it. You know, beauty's everywhere. A heart like hers isn't. And, you know, I fall more in love with her every day. She shows me every day truly what I deserved from the beginning. And, you know, I'm just like anybody else. I struggle with my own confidence issues, but she never gives me room to doubt what I am or what I deserve. And, you know, she's just as beautiful on the inside as she is out in every way.
I can look back at it now and see that, like, had I not had been torn down and empty to a place where I so desperately just needed Jesus and to be filled up by him, and I think I really needed to get to know the love of Jesus separate from being hurt by men, or I think for both of us in his past too, just being able to focus and get to know Jesus and his love on its own really helped like just prepare me to know him and appreciate him, and to be in a position and in a place in my walk with God where like I could better, like we could better each other, and where I could love him well and out of a place that came from the way Jesus was loving me. And then again, just like he's somebody who pushes me closer to God, and that's one of the biggest things that just reminded me like this is who God's got for me, and he's amazing. He's so much more than I ever could have dreamed. I feel so undeserving, that he makes me better. He makes me me. He makes me the best version of myself. And it's like every month, every week, every day, there's just something else about him that it's like, oh my gosh, like God, you are so good. You are so good, and he is so faithful.
My biggest piece of advice would be to never settle.
Amen.
If there's red flags at all, you're probably in the wrong relationship. But part of the hurt, part of the growing is going through everything that you're going through in life. Had it not been for all the stuff we went through, we wouldn't have appreciated what we have when we have it.
I would say you're not forgotten. You're not overlooked. You are seen, and you are cherished, and you are worthy of a love that's even more than your wildest dreams, because it does exist. And God does see those desires in your heart, and he's a good God, even when it doesn't feel like things are good. And so I think just continuing to focus and remember Jesus is your first love, and continue to pursue that relationship as your number one, because at the end of the day, like, he is our even more love story, and it's because of him that I get my even love story here. And so I think just continuing to focus and pursuing that and celebrating in that love with Jesus while you wait, because his timing is perfect, even if it doesn't feel like it, and he's good in every single circumstance.
Our thing always is that, you know, it was all terrible, what we both went through, but we'd go through it all again if it led us to each other again. And I know with her story, and very well with mine, that everything that happened, I can look back on it now and see for a reason. Because us meeting, that shouldn't have happened. I mean, we grew up 45 minutes away from each other, but there was no way I knew she existed.
I don't know, I just feel like God has so clearly written this story, and I can see so much of his faithfulness in his hand, and I'm just really excited to see like how that's just gonna flourish once we're married, and once, you know, we're one, and how that those stories are gonna become the same story, and how they'll be written together, and not just individually anymore, because I don't know, I'm a dreamer, he's a dreamer, and
Absolutely.
I believe that there's lots of amazing things in store, and I can't wait. Because this is already more than I ever thought that I could ever have. So just to know that it's only gonna get sweeter, I'm excited.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching that video. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can continue to explore faith with Lane of Roses all week, and go ahead and check out our next video right over there.